One day, John Hammond's going to show up at your doorstep and say, I'm going to need a 1993 Jurassic Park expert to come to my park to see dinosaurs to let people know it's real. And you're going to be like, you fucking liar, and slam the door on his face, even though he's in your fridge already.
Unless somebody resurrects Sir Richard Attenborough, I don't care, because he's the only one who could pull out John Hammond.
Ooh, are we to the part where we get ethics?
Well, that's something I missed in the last episode I'm really sad about. It's one of my favorite scenes of all time. Oh, hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John. I seriously, I have all the figures in the Amber collection, which are the 12, or not the 12-inch, the 6-inch Jurassic Park figures. I seriously wanted to buy at least a dozen Hammonds to do that. But luckily Nicole told me no, and she had good reasoning. But yeah, it's just really hard not to do that. And now you have a cell phone and a computer, and you can just edit together a movie yourself and do that. Oh.
You only need one, John. Introduce ourselves soon.
Yes.
After a word from our messages. What?
A word from our Joe.
Do you ever get tired of wearing pants?
Oh, God, I do.
All the time.
I'm not wearing pants right now.
Then this is the product for you. It's No Pants. For 5 easy installments of $35.99, you can also have no pants.
Don't you just mean shorts?
They're not shorts. They're no pants.
Anyway.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
We're the Rewinders Podcast, rewinding movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we're on to part 3 of Jurassic Park. We've just kicked our lap bars off our laps and almost kicked the stones out of the way, too, because they were kind of foamy and they didn't stick to the set very well. And we're going from the Dino DNA scene into the laboratory.
Oh, yeah. Baby dinos.
My God, the practical effects in this scene.
I love puppets.
It's so good.
It is pretty amazing.
They put bloody gunk in the egg to be like on the little baby dino, and it had just the hatching, and I can't bring actual words to this.
Yeah. And you get Hammond there just wanting to be there for every dino hatching, so that way he could imprint on every dinosaur, or every dinosaur imprint on him. Not entirely certain which is more effective. It explains why he got to survive this movie.
Well, what type of dinosaur is it? Is it a water type dinosaur or is it a fire type dinosaur?
This would be the blood type.
Oh, it's a whole new type.
Yeah, I think it's strong versus dragon and dark. Actually, it's probably weak against dark since blood. Anyways, yeah.
This is that scene that I have a note about Malcolm having no tact. I forget what what did he say? He was saying something. He said something just absolutely terse before going into his rant that leads to the iconic "Life finds a way" line. And
that entire speech is amazing.
It
is. I wish
was it
I
the
would
bit
have
about
wrote
going
it
out
down.
to the park and lifting the dinosaur skirts?
It was either that or just before, and I don't remember what he said that triggered me to write that down.
He definitely just comes out and says what he's thinking, and kind of required for this sort of thing. I respect Hammond for letting people around him say what they're thinking and at least acting like he's thinking, listening to them. At a certain point, obviously, he's had it up to here with people like Nedry, but it's good that he's willing to listen and take criticisms full on the chin, if you will.
Yeah. Here, I found the transcript. It is, his first line in that scene is, "Well, surely not the ones that have been bred in the wild." And then after the spiel with Henry, he says, how do you know that they can't breed? And then he brings up the piece later on after the whole conversation. But again, how do you know they're all female? Did somebody go out to the park and lift up all the dinosaur skirts?
It must have been that line.
After that, then it's that whole spiel with "Life finds a way" then.
Yeah, then it must have been that line.
Dan, are you thinking about so your scientists were so worried about if they could, they didn't think about if they should?
No, that's later, because that's after.
That should be on the iconic line list.
This is right before. This is right before he says, "No, I'm simply saying that life finds a way." Right before that, he says the whole thing about John The kind of control you're attempting here it's not possible. If there's one thing that history of evolution has taught us, it's that life will not be contained. Life breaks free, expands to new places, and crashes through barriers, painfully, perhaps even dangerously, but well, there it is. So that's what he said right before he said the piece of
it must have been the skirt line then.
And honestly, but there it is. I think I live that on a daily basis.
I mean, the rest of the characters respond to that really well. What do you mean,
Yeah, I find myself being not able to finish my thoughts or thinking I have more to say and be like, well, yep, nope, that's all I have to say about that.
I love that the actual quote is not life finds a way, it's life finds a way. That just makes me so happy. Yeah, it's like people misquoting Vader and saying the iconic
Luke, I'm your father.
Exactly, he never said that. It's one of those fun quotes where you can be at parties, like you can be the turd in the punch bowl and say, no, actually, it's this.
There's a whole game show based on actually. Or but actually.
Oh, another game show I'm not going to watch.
It's people bringing up like trivia facts, and if you can properly tell the trivia fact, the trivia fact that you're given is wrong, but if you can bring the true fact of the trivia fact out, you get a point.
See, Dan, I thought you said that there's a whole show surrounding butt acne. And
no, not butt acne. That would be awful. But actually, I forget what the name of it's called. It's a college humor.
But yeah, to your point, Dan, I've always wanted the Velociraptor in the egg. I'd love to have that in my life.
With or without teeth, because this thing had tiny little teeth and they were adorable.
With teeth, it's just so cute.
It has to have the teeth. So the robot arm, it disappears during the hatching.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of movie. I mean, yes, there's errors in this movie editing wise up the wazoo.
It's perfect. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, later on we'll get into T-Rex attack and things like that, but also, I don't know how the editing for this film went, other than the fact that I know that after shooting for Jurassic Park Wrapped, Spielberg had to fly and immediately start working on Schindler's List. Because if he didn't start working on it, that was his pet project. That was like his one, I do one for you, you let me do one for myself. If he didn't start working on that, he would never be able to make that movie. So he had to immediately embark on making Schindler's List after Jurassic Park, which kind of ruined the editing process for him because he'd get phone calls and stuff like that. He'd get dailies, sent over and asked for his opinion on them, and he's trying to focus on this while having just filmed, kids being shot to death and crap like that during the day. So he's even commented on that, how trying to mentally shift from filming children hiding in an outhouse to going back and, verifying the dailies on a T-Rex running after a Jeep and things like that. There's a lot to unpack there between the two movies and between that fine line that he had to walk between editing them. So I forgive a lot of the editing mistakes in this movie. Plus, they're fun. They're like little Easter eggs to point out. Like that
was the only one that I noticed. That's the only one I've ever noticed.
When the Explorer, we'll get into it later, but when the Explorer tips over in the T-Rex attack, there's clearly plywood and a plugged-in work lamp on
that's not
lids.
True. I know there's another one in the kitchen scene that I have marked down.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty of little things that, you'll see. But it's fun to unpack them.
Is that arm autonomous or is it controlled by somebody in the background?
With the attitude it gave Grant, I'm going to say autonomous.
Right? Like Grant picks up that egg and it's like, this is my egg. Uh-huh. This stays here.
Nedry was talking about automation. I mean, I'm assuming that's his personality coming through in that robot.
I think the way this scene ends is just awesome, with Grant holding the little Velociraptor. He's just like, oh, yes. Fuck! I'm holding a tiny killing machine. Shit. What have I done?
The zoom in, the music, just the look on his face, the expression, just all of it. Just oh yes, it ends so freaking well. And then that hard cut right over to the raptor paddock. Yes.
Yep.
Still staying with the pet raptors, and now we got Muldoon, someone who does not like raptors.
Does not like dinosaurs.
Does not like pants.
Specifically the raptors. Like, the dinosaurs, not a big fan of, but the raptors, he's like, nah. These jerks. Always messing up my fences. Gotta feed them from above, otherwise they're gonna attack the place we put the food in. They're such a pain.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah,
he's not wrong.
He's very sensible.
I say he's probably the most sensible person at the park at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At this point. Later, not very sensible.
Yeah, from everything he knows about raptors, later on his choices are interesting.
Yeah.
I think Muldoon should have been giving the distances that the velociraptors can move and all that in metric and not imperial, because he's Aussie.
Oh, wait. They use feet.
Yeah, they use feet.
I heard people play D&D. Oh, wait, no. D&D's in feet. Yeah.
I mean,
take that.
Muldoon plays D&D. It's canon.
It's weird when he said that the raptors can move at 120 feet per round. It was interesting. I wasn't sure what he's talking about.
My biggest problem with this introduction to the Velociraptor pit and feeding them is all my life, this one scene, I'm just like, they obviously haven't figured their stuff out yet because they're lifting this cow in to feed them. And when they pull the crane bit back out, it's just wrecked. So they have to have a new...
yeah, they got to repair that every time.
Every time.
That's the beauty of the scene. It really, really hammers home the fact of how just unprepared they are.
Spend money. Spend money,
but then also just how unprepared they are for the unexpected nature of the animals. Malcolm's absolutely right. They bred these things without actually thinking about it. They just expected them to perform, and they had no idea what they have.
He makes
here it is.
So many valid points, and no one listens to him.
He does. You have this temporary enclosure because that's how hastily they had to throw this piece of crap together to throw them in there. And here they are showing the freaking tourists coming in to sign off on the park. Like, oh yeah, this isn't a safety concern. They were just a lot more aggressive than we thought they'd be. So they're in this little prison cell.
And we're breeding
more.
more.
We're breeding more,
Yeah.
Exactly.
What?
Oh, we have other
I'd
carnivores.
like to point
on
out
the
they're
tour.
still not showing the raptors at this point.
Yep.
Just the shaking trees.
And the sound.
Which Laura Dern and Sam Neill and everybody said was pretty hard to film because you have Steven Spielberg, shaking branches and shit, and they're just like, okay. He's saying, just imagine this happening, and then they asked, well, can we get some sound at least? And then he just, I think they said through a bullhorn, he just shouted roar and started making like a couple of like
Oh god, I would not be able to keep a straight face. Absolutely could not.
Oh my. That is amazing.
I like it.
I thought that scene was silly enough watching it, just watching it from above with the tree, with just imagining people down there shaking the trees, but knowing that he said roar going through a bullhorn, that's chef's kiss.
Roar.
And something about Chilean sea bass in this
Next scene, yeah.
Well, he mentions it in this scene.
Oh, because you have to set up the next scene.
You got to set up the Chilean sea bass. You can't just have it come in.
You also get a feeling from this scene that Hammond's like, I have this plan to a T. I need this to go exactly what it is. And you guys are really screwing with me right now. Get in line already.
Stop looking at the stuff that's going to fail me
Yep.
on this.
He's like,
It's really trying to avert the eyes. It's like somebody basically showing off like a new building or like a new cruise liner or something, and
Hey,
people are looking at the
there's,
parts
like,
that aren't finished yet.
No
Just
doors
know
on
that.
this boat. Not a single door. Was that an
Exactly.
oversight? Like, I can't just sit in my bathroom right now.
You can just keep saying sparing no expense to kind of cover over that, but there's rough edges, and they're seeing the rough edges.
Did you know that Chilean sea bass goes for about $30 a pound today?
I was gonna say it's expensive because I'm getting the memorabilia.
what about tilapia?
One of my favorite things that I've always said if they ever made it would be like the ultimate Jurassic Park collectible for me would be the dishes from this scene, and of course they make them now.
Here, Brothy, give me just a second, because you can get Chilean sea bass. It's $30 a bit, and this recipe that I found needs 15 ounces
God.
for one serving.
So,
I
damn.
need that to break in the plates, though. You can't break these plates in without Chilean sea bass. So, question for you guys. Embarrassingly, how long did it take you through your childhood or through your life to realize it was Chilean sea bass and not chili and sea bass?
I don't think I went that way. I heard this is sea bass from Chile.
he definitely says Chilean weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever noticed that.
I've heard it online, people mishearing it multiple times growing up. It's like, oh, what's chili and sea bass? Like picturing a bowl of chili with some fish.
It's actually called the gumbo because there's fish in it instead of beef. It's meat.
Well, in the scene with the Chilean sea bass, I kind of like how it's just this big, dark room with all these projectors projecting future attraction. Future
I love
attraction.
it. You get a little glimpse of the
It's so good.
flights. You get a little glimpse of the river ride. All that good stuff.
Looks like the aviaries
Yup.
in one of them.
Oh, I love that part.
Jurassic Park 3 has to happen then.
No, because they just took the stuff that didn't happen and kept putting it in the other ones. It's not fair.
Yep.
That's fine. This movie doesn't need an aviary. It was
I'm good
already
without-
pretty well stocked.
I have to admit, kudos to Universal for cutting the river adventure from this movie and then just saying, fuck it, let's turn it into a theme park ride.
I mean, they do bring the river adventure into the movie that we don't talk about.
Yeah, but in this one it was supposed to play a very integral part because in the book it was a lot of
Yeah, there was
them
a lot
on
of
the
river
water
movement.
Exactly.
It was not
the
a
aviary's part
safari.
of that. Yeah, I mean there was a separate tour. It was a separate tour. They had different tours
Yeah.
for it, but that didn't come up at all in this because they just thought logistically there's no way that they could film that. No amount of money they could throw at the screen would make that work.
The scene also has the penultimate Jurassic Park line of your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they never stopped to think that they should.
I love Malcolm's entire rant with him talking about scientists finding the power and wielding it like a kid finding its dad's gun.
There's so much foreshadowing.
Banging his fists on the table talking about selling it. It's so damn good. It's such a good quote.
I mean, there's a reason why people use that quote all over the place.
Because it's true.
It's topical. It can be
You can
used.
apply it to a lot of things.
So yeah,
You were so quick to make the pickle flavored blizzard that you never thought if you should make the pickle flavored blizzard.
And here we have an example of like actual real ethics discussion, something super interesting that should be talked about before you even start any of this, and they're talking about
like
it.
they're fighting at a family dinner.
Right, but it's so good. It's so well done. I wrote in this movie right before this part that it's just this movie is so well paced.
It is.
And even in places like this where other movies might make the conversation slow and boring or try to really flesh things out, they really just hit the nail on the head quickly and keep things interesting and flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't Batman the date scenes.
It makes me curious how things would have panned out had things gone differently. Without going too far in the weeds, Steven was really good friends with Michael Crichton. And that's why he got essentially the rights to do this, because he had asked him while working on several things, what do you got planned next? And he said that he never divulges anything about his books until they're published. But Steven, begged him because they're good friends, and he just kind of brought up the fact that, okay, it deals with cloning and dinosaurs, and Steven lost his fucking mind. He's like, I want it. It's like based off of just that.
Sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
I gotta do this. Oh my god.
Exactly, but he's a huge fan of dinosaurs since he was a kid too, so it's like everything coming together in a giant wet dream for him. He had to have it. So before the movie even was optioned, before it even went up for any kind of bidding wars, essentially it was Steven Spielberg's movie. And Michael Crichton said that. He even said, I'm going to put on my business hat, and we do have to do bidding for this. But I'm going to tell you, even if it comes in between, being a little bit off or you're a little bit lower than blah, 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 you're still going to get it. So what happened was, I shit you not, imagine this in your head as I say these. Do you know the directors that almost got a chance to make this movie?
I want to know.
Tim Burton.
Oh no.
I was going to say Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
No.
Rob Reiner.
Okay.
Coming off Stand By Me, how do you guys feel about a Jurassic Park version of that?
Fuck off.
Well,
Okay.
Princess Bride version
Jurassic
of
Park,
Jurassic
the
Park. How about that?
introspective. Oh.
The big one though, James Cameron missed his shot. He heard about it, lost his damn mind. He's like, holy shit, I need this. But he didn't respond until the day after he got the whatever it was that they got, letting them know that the movie was coming. Just whatever the bare minimum notes were. He didn't respond until the day after, and by that time, he was already told that Steven had got it, so...
I'm not...
That
It
could
would have been
decent.
good, but it would have been more action. It would have been like Aliens with dinosaurs. It just would have been just shit on screen constantly and just gunfire everywhere. It would have been great. I'm not gonna lie, but it would not have been this.
It would not have been a lasting movie.
Speaking of, the Velociraptors made me think a lot about the Xenomorphs, and I was like,
Exactly,
oh, if they could have just
exactly.
moved more like the Xenomorphs, that would have been
they
so
kind
good.
of
Yeah.
do at the end of the movie that one little bit before the thing happens that we're going to talk about later.
We'll get there.
Maybe.
We'll get there.
Putting pins everywhere.
But yeah, way off track with that one. But it's interesting because all those little pieces, Steven does characters so well, and that's why I love his damn movies, because it doesn't matter how strong the overall movie is. There's some decent ones that he's done. There's some incredible ones he's done. But for me, personally, why I love Steven Spielberg's movies is just the character development is just second to none. He has a way with child actors.
Not to
Child
tangent.
actors with Steven Spielberg are incredible.
Look at Super 8.
Yeah, exactly. It's just Super 8, it came close, but that's just somebody trying to emulate his style.
That's true. Well, but didn't he have... Oh, no. He was in the movie, but it wasn't him.
Yeah, it was, that was the start of Mr. J.J. Abrams. And that's why people kind of call him a hack and a schlock, because he's trying to be Steven Spielberg, essentially. I mean, yes, he makes good movies, but he's definitely got that edge to him where it feels like he's just trying to replicate what Steven's done.
Lens flares. Lens
flares everywhere. But yeah, it's
flares.
just... With the characters he has in this, the development he's got in this, that scene in particular you guys are talking about, there's just so much to it that I can't imagine how it would have been handled through another director's hands.
I don't think of any of those anybody would be able to handle the inter-character. There's a word I want to use.
Yeah. You got there. I don't know if anyone else would even attempt just having a sit down, let's talk over a dinner
argument,
ethical
debate,
argument,
yeah.
To the point where no one's even eating they're not even touching their Chilean sea bass.
They're $30 per ounce sea bass.
Per pound, not per ounce. Per pound. If it was $30 per ounce, holy Christ. That's a lobster.
That'd be awful.
Hey, spared no expense.
The reason why this scene works so well is purely Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he keeps the energy going and everyone vibes off of him, which then brings Hammond to be like, I can't believe this. The only person on my side is the blood-sucking
He
lawyer.
goes on his little rant about condors and everything else. Like, it's such a well-established scene, just kind of depicting like where his thought is right now, where his head is at.
That he's got these people that he thought were shoo-ins for convincing, and they are only thinking about the negatives.
Yep.
And as a businessman, Hammond cannot dwell on that at this point in the game. He has to shove all the good things forward at this point in the game.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that Hammond thinks that he can put somebody out of a job and make them excited about it.
Well, I think that's also part of it too. Like, the bumbling nature, just he's so aloof of the things happening around him. And the thing that I really appreciate out of all this is again, this point keeps getting hammered through the movie in different scenes. It's the fact that, yet again, they have something that they don't know how to deal with. He thought he had something predictable. He thought he had a bunch of people bringing in. These guys like dinosaurs. They dig them up. Obviously, they're going to sign off on my dinosaur park. And then he doesn't like the mathematician because he sees things realistically where everyone else doesn't. And it's just, he was expecting something completely different than what he got. And that's just the theme continuously.
He was expecting just a home run knocked right out of the park.
Yeah.
And he's being forced to bunt.
Yup. And that's the theme. That's the theme over and over again. It's just he's not getting what he thought he was going to get, because before he even knows how to handle the shit he has in front of him, he's just trying to move on to getting it next to the next part. So I love that they keep doing that. I love that theme keeps coming up in this over and over again.
Yeah, it's a good call out that this is a very good sit down and talk scene.
These are very rare.
I don't think I can call out, if somebody were to ask me, hey, what's the first thing that comes to mind when we need a scene in a movie where the characters have a meaningful debate without any action?
I'd say Snatch.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
I would say not even that, though, because most of the time when I think about this kind of a thing in another film, it would be character introduction. Because usually it's so sloppy and so rushed, like, this is where you show off the characters, like, oh, that's blah, 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 blue, 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 and this is how they introduce everybody. We're well past all of that in this scene. This scene stands on its own because it's got those core themes and that core feature to it that doesn't have to be driven by the laziness of the rest of the film that's come up to that point. I love that.
Plus, they've already showed you dinosaurs at this point, and now they took you away from the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The big point of the movie.
Why did you take us away from dinosaurs? Oh, right. Maybe we shouldn't have put those dinosaurs there in the first place.
We just want to talk about the marketing of the dinosaurs. Screw talking about the dinosaurs' well-being or the ethical implications. Let's just talk about the marketing.
Right.
Speaking of marketing, this scene leads into introducing the main demographic of Jurassic Park.
Do you think that's why the grandkids were invited?
No. It's a very small throwaway line.
The grandkids were invited because of the fact that his daughter just had a divorce.
Or they're going through the divorce. So it was just
yeah.
to get the kids out of the house and away from the parents, which is great.
Oh.
They really stole that for Jurassic World as well, but it works really well here at least.
Yeah. I say they didn't really call that out too much here.
Yeah, it's just a very small line.
It's a tiny line in the amber mine scene. Very beginning of the amber mine scene.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total throwaway line that you wouldn't have caught.
And I felt it so much on this viewing because when I was younger and watching this movie, I hated these kids. They were annoying as shit to me.
These kids are the best kids in the entire goddamn series, and that is the hill I am going to die on.
They are. God damn it. They don't have to shoehorn gymnastics in to kick a raptor out a window or have wooden character development about just trolling for babes.
Because one of the kids is definitely supposed to be autistic, but the company didn't have the balls to pull the trigger on it.
So it's just awkward as hell for everyone.
Yep.
Exactly.
What I loved about these kids this time around viewing it was internalizing that line that, yeah, his daughter was going through a messy divorce. And these kids, I started this time going, holy crap, that's why they're clinging to
Dr. Grant.
This male figure that they look up to. Is now it's kind of like a father figure that they feel they're missing. And so it's real easy for them to, one, they look up to him, and two, it's someone to cling to. And it became so much more sense to me as a stupid ass adult to see that.
Grant wants nothing to do with these clingy little snot-nosed brats.
Especially the kid that idolizes the hell out of him in his book.
I felt I felt
me.
so much of Grant right there. I'm just like, oh man, the eye rolls.
I'm looking at that little boy's face, and it's like, get the hell out of here.
Just get the fucking hell out of my face, man.
That's still one of my favorite lines in this whole movie, though. She said that I should ride with you because it'd be good for you. I love that line.
Damn it, Ellie. God damn it, Ellie.
And yeah, the cut back to
Ellie is cracking up in the van.
She said they're just chewing on her fucking finger, giggling away. Like, it's so freaking good. So good.
That's a wholesome prank.
It is.
I can get behind that kind of prank.
And also our first glimpse at the wildly, seductively attractive Ford Explorers rolling out in front of the visitor center. Still to this day, when I talk to friends, when I get stuff like memorabilia-wise, or I get like new shirt or shoes, whatever, that print is always the thing that makes everyone jealous. It's not like an InGen coffee mug. It's not like this or that. It's not like a Mr. DNA thing. It's you throw that fucking tiger print and gradient green and yellow on anything, and people lose their damn minds.
It is Jurassic Park. That is what it is.
It is. It's pure 90s nostalgia because that is such an iconic look to this movie. Thank you, John Bell. Thank you so much.
It's also just so very loud to look
really
at, so
is.
it's easy to recognize.
It feels like a safari ride. It feels like something that exists in the world for pure joy and entertainment. That is the crazy, wild thing you're going to ride on to go see dinosaurs. Get fucking pumped.
And they're like, you can't be hurt because these things are so theme parky. It's not there to hurt you. You're going to have a good time.
Love Malcolm's quip about that. God help us, we're in the hands of engineers.
I love that line as well.
The only other thing I have about this is the interactive CD-ROM line. I'm just like, this isn't an interactive CD-ROM. It's more of an interactive touch display.
Well, no, the CD-ROM's right underneath it. It's a touch display, but then the CD-ROM drive is underneath.
Is it? I didn't see it. Was there an actual CD-ROM drive?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see it.
So in the Ford Explorer, there's a CD-ROM drive. Right above that is the screen that she was touching. And then up above, kind of where the rearview mirror would be, by the visor for the driver and passenger, that's really kind of where there's a camera and a microphone system for, the control room to be able to talk to the guests and the guests to talk back. Where we get that amazing line. Oh, this was my freaking, my text message ringtone for probably about 3 years. Just John Hammond. I really hate that, man. It's my favorite damn line. I love the snarkiness.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It definitely shows you just how much Hammond is losing it at this point.
Yep.
Like, everything's grinding on his gears at that point. It's just nothing's going right.
But that's further on. I mean, prior to that, we've got the main gate, which is so iconic. It's such a gigantic set piece.
See the gate, you immediately start hearing the theme song playing. You don't have to see the text on the gate, just the silhouette of the gate with fire. All I can hear is the horns playing.
Yup, and that's another wonderful one. That's another one where Spielberg was a huge fan of King Kong.
King Kong.
He's a huge fan of King Kong, and he told John Bell when they were starting to do rough sketches and concept art, he said, for the gates for the movie, I really love King Kong. I'd love to see a giant gate like that. He knocked it the hell out of the park with this thing.
Plus the line, what are they keeping behind there?
And that's what I love about this. The production gave us so many good, what would be throwaway lines that were directly either from the mouths of people working on the film or comments being made as they worked through things, because it's just so revolutionary and iconic, the things that happened as this movie was being produced, that it was just hard to keep that excitement to themselves. They had to put that joy in the movie some way too. I love it. I love that.
So when they're approaching the gates, you got the guy talking on the thing. I didn't catch his name, but apparently
Richard
he's somewhat
Kiley.
Popular because spared no
Kiley.
Okay,
Kiley with a K. Richard Kiley.
Okay, spared no expense either way. But he says, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and it does not have near the same effect as when Hammond says it at the first time it's said in the movie.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that it's a passion project for Hammond. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Like
there's so much
it's said with so much love and pride in it. And you got the guy in the radio, spared no expense, but not near as much pride. You can tell he's just
because he's hired for his voice.
Reading from a script, basically.
Richard Kiley was famous for his voice and narration because he had a deep baritone voice and he had a really nice, distinguishable voice. And that's all he's there for. He's not excited about dinosaurs. Fuck that. He's just there for a paycheck.
Right.
Here you are at this part of the park.
Yep.
These dinosaurs are known for this.
You get Lex irrationally wondering if the vehicle designed for a tour by her grandfather is going to smash into a gate.
Well, hey, Nedry did design the system.
Right? That's true. But then, they're on their way to their first exhibit, and this is so ingrained in my personality. Anytime something doesn't go right, or anytime something is missing, anytime anything like that small happens in my life, I am now 33, and I've been doing it for how many ever years that is. I casually just half-heartedly slam my hand down and mutter "damn," just like Alan Grant when they go past the Dilophosaurus cage and there's nothing in it. I love that.
I love it as well.
They have Richard Kiley explaining that the Dilophosauruses are known for being poisonous and can spit tar.
Uh-huh.
How many people died to Dilophosauruses before they figured out that this was something that Dilophosauruses do?
Yeah, I'm assuming nobody probably died, but I'm assuming that they exhibited the aggression and spitting while they're growing up, and that's after they were cloned. They're like, whoa, what the hell? Now we got to put a disclaimer about this.
And at this point, do you think that perhaps it wasn't the dinosaur that spat, but they used
toad DNA,
the poison dart toad?
For sure, you can totally see
or whatever
the Jesus lizard, whatever the hell that one's called. You can absolutely see the DNA in that, and that's everybody gets in a camp about the Dilophosaurus. The problem with the Dilophosaurus is, at the time, they were trying to make the most realistic dinosaur movie that they could. Right?
Yep.
Based off of all the stuff and updating everybody's notions of what a dinosaur was. Dilophosaurus was the one exception in the film in which it was just a Hollywood design. It was a horror movie design. I mean, everything about the neck frill is completely speculation. There's never been any kind of evidence that there was a neck frill. And the venom, that's speculation too. But the thing about it that everyone forgets is, yes, they filled in the gene sequences with amphibian DNA and reptile DNA. So there's all that stuff that could have come over from that.
Yep.
So the problem with the Dilophosaurus is after the first movie, I can't remember which paleontologist it was, but essentially a paleontologist, some folks that worked on the film, whatever it might be, executives higher up, hated that representation of Dilophosaurus because they're like, that's not even remotely close to what it should be. And that's why you never saw it again.
Oh, man.
And that's why it's pissed me off until this last trailer, where after all these freaking years, we finally get a Dilophosaurus again in the movies. Because they teased really heavy with the last one, but it turned out to be a statue. And then they teased really heavy with Jurassic World, and it turned out to be a hologram. But we have not seen a Dilophosaurus in this freaking franchise since the first movie.
Since the first one, yep. Well,
and I am stoked. But that is actually a legitimate thing. Apparently, executives or paleontologists, ever since this movie, made it part of like a clause, like
back
no
and
Dilophosaurus.
forth over arguing whether or not it was a thing.
As you imagine, it was hugely influential. Every single thing related to a Dilophosaurus that you see after Jurassic Park came out depicts them with a frill and spitting shit.
Yeah, like the Uno game.
Yeah, yeah, like the Uno game. But I'm talking about stuff that's not even Jurassic Park. Like, you go Google an image of a Dilophosaurus right now, and there's going to be pictures of it coming up with frill spitting from games, comic books, whatever. Just people drawing it like that. I mean, yes, the normal Dilophosaurus without a frill will show up, textbook style, but you go and Google search Dilophosaurus, like I'm doing right now, and right away the 4 pictures on the Google page are what they should be.
From Jurassic. Oh, what they should be. Yep. Yeah, I see it.
But the Dilophosaurus image next to the name Dilophosaurus up top is one with a frill. And then you click images, and it is a mixed bag. You got ones with frills, you got ones without frills, you got toys with frills.
Look at all this.
Uh-huh.
Don't go too deep. You're going to hit Rule 34.
Oh, let's not go that far.
Nope. That's like page 2 or 3. We're on page 1. It's fine.
But no, that's all I'm saying is some jerk got so offended about this dinosaur in this movie that we have not seen this dinosaur since 1993, and that pisses me off.
Stupid man babies.
Right?
I like the neck frill. It's whimsical.
It is. It's fun.
Have a little bit of creativity with something we'll never know the actual. We'll never know what the actual skin
100%.
looks like. Most likely,
That's
from a
100%.
dinosaur. There's almost no way.
That's
of
the thing.
knowing
It's
that.
creativity. Most of it's grounded in reality. Most of it is 100% accurate based off the information that they had at the time.
But we also
This
got to
is
remember
some
that they are
creative
not
element.
dinosaurs. They are
Yes.
reptile
Monsters,
amphibian
essentially.
hybrids.
Yeah. Nobody plucked them from their existence and brought them back. People horribly spliced them back together via DNA that they didn't even know what they were doing with, and think, oh man, this thing looks like this. We have it back. This is probably how it was. And then they just shove it out a gate and try to sell it off. That's what's happening versus people actually understanding what the hell they've made. And that's the beauty of this. The Dilophosaurus represents the chaos of the park and represents the chaos of the entire fundamental thing that is Jurassic Park. You have a T-Rex, yes. You can easily say to Taurus, we have a T-Rex. You have Brachiosaurus. You can say we have Brachiosaurus, Triceratops, all that stuff. What the hell is this thing with a frill spitting fucking venom out of it? Oh, that's the thing we don't talk about. That was supposed to be a Dilophosaurus. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It is a physical representation of what the hell is going on in the park that they have no idea what they have. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
The scene introduces the actual tropical storm that happened during the filming.
Yeah, we lost a few things with that.
But the pictures they have of the storm coming, that's not a tropical storm. That's a goddamn hurricane.
Yeah, we'll get into that probably in the next episode because that's going to be coming up after the Triceratops. But
no, because they referenced it right in the beginning of the scene.
Oh, they do, yeah, because Muldoon's tracking the storm from NORAD. But there's an actual hurricane that blew through during the filming of Jurassic Park, which unfortunately tore the gates down after they did the filming for those, so the gates are no longer around. Coincidentally enough, it actually destroyed the set that was planned to show the death of Ray Arnold from Velociraptor. So when that set was destroyed, they just basically left the scene that was in with the arm heavily implying that he died. I mean, how could you not expect that? But
right?
Yeah, and then we talked about it either on the side or in the last episode, but it was Steven was crazy enough to get enough people crazy enough like him to go out with cameras and whatnot and film some bits of the hurricane as it was coming through the island. So they could use that because he figured, well, why the hell not? There's going to be a storm coming through the island for the movie. Why not film the storm coming through the island right now? It's great.
You also get Arnold's "hold on to your butts" iconic line.
Uh-huh.
It's the first time that he says it in the movie.
The line that kids muttered like crazy because it was a fun line to say as a child. You felt like you couldn't get in trouble and it felt cool to say.
And it's just fun.
It is.
The scene also has my favorite line. You had our lives in your hands, and you had butterfingers. I use that line more often than I care to admit.
Likewise, I've used that line a lot, and we have that infamous line from Hammond with I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they pay for them. You have all that stuff in such a short amount of time. You have within this 3-minute span, you've got Malcolm delivering the line about King Kong behind the gate. You got him delivering his line about you will eventually have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour, right? With Hammond's retort of I hate that man. And then you have the dam with the windowsill for the Dilophosaurus not being there. Followed directly by this, it's just quotable quote after quote after quote. And it's I love having that It's magical. It's absolutely magical.
It's also kind of chaos. If only there was like a theory that you could use to describe
Ken.
That's expecting too much, kid.
that you just don't know what's going to happen
Ken.
from all this.
And that you can hit on people with.
Yeah.
And slightly nag on people by talking about their micro
Follicles and
imperfections.
imperfections. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. There's so much to unpack with that, especially with the action figures they released and everything else. I'm super excited.
Yeah, they had Nedry drinking a Jolt Cola.
Drank a bunch of those
That
when they
won't date this movie at all.
re-released them in high school.
They re-released them again a couple
Holy
years
crap,
ago.
there's a glass bottle of Jolt back
Yep.
there.
I like the aluminum bottles that they came out with, like in my senior year, because the Jolt bottle looked like a battery.
Yeah, and it was green, red, or blue. The blue one was my favorite.
And then the red and green ones didn't look like batteries; they were different designs. No, maybe they were Maybe they were all batteries.
Yeah,
now that I think
they're
about
all
it.
batteries. I drank enough of them.
I drank most of the blue ones, yeah, because that was just the best.
The blue was my
flavor.
favorite though. That's the only one I kept buying. But yeah, they brought Jolt Cola back in the retro can, like in the movie, back in 2018 or so. So we had those back. But yeah, it's cool seeing that in the film.
There's also the Nedry thing is starting to introduce how complex the computer systems is, with the computer having 2 million lines of code that he has to write and debug and compile all at the same time, because that's how computers works back then.
All based off of a conversation about the headlights being on when they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Headlights being on and not using the rail charge for the car.
they're using the car
actual
battery.
car battery, which is then used later when the cars die
That's
and the
why
headlights are still on.
Yup. Foreshadow. It's so nice, those little details that get picked up later on. It's like a dream.
So good.
And you can dream about what we are going to talk about next in the next episode of us covering Jurassic Park. So come back in 2 weeks when we take our own bite out of the T-Rex cage and all those other parts of the movie Jurassic Park.
Or next time when we have our 18-minute window. So all kinds of stuff coming up.
I think we're almost over the hump. We've gotten through half of the movie.
Yeah.
And so we've already talked about the second half. We just need to put it in chronological order and fill in a couple of blanks and unpin some of those messages.
No. There's plenty still to talk about.
So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind again.
And dinosaurs.